one of the most important questions that will give me a fountain of information is
Welcome to the Dental Construction Insider, your go to podcast for anything construction in your dental office. Whether it's your startup, it's your expansion, it's a remodel, it's just regular maintenance at your office, or if you're going to do the big ground up. We're here to help. If you have any questions, don't forget to reach out. Please don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them on the bottom. Okay, so today we have special guest again. BJ is here with us, and she is our HR expert. She keeps us in compliance over here at 26L. So today we're going to keep the conversation going, and today let's talk. I think today we're still talking HR and compliance, risk management, but let's pick up on hiring. So how do you go about the whole process of more or less hiring and looking for red flags and stuff? I know it's a skill, right? Talking to people, picking up on, there's just their body language and stuff like that. Um, and the last podcast you told us that you had to, in the DFW, when you had to hire out there for those, 7 offices that you had to hire. You rented 2 ballrooms, right?
yes,
And that you had to interview, like 500 people or something,
more than 500.
over 500 people. So that must have been really grueling because you're looking for associates, right, or providers, RDAs, front office and hygienists.
Yes.
So it's like a different hat, huh? You like, is it like, do you do one day it's associates, or and then the next day, or is it just a mix?
So I divvied them up into what their jobs were. So,
Okay.
and I had of course, all their job descriptions. Anybody that was going to be applying already had that in hand. They're divided into
Mhm.
sections. So I would conduct the interviews for the providers, which are the associate doctors,
Mhm.
and then I would conduct interviews, and that would take the better part of 6 hours
Yeah.
because remember I had to staff 7 offices.
Yeah.
And then I would go ahead and bring in the dental hygienist
Mhm.
because they are very much partners.
Mhm.
They work hand in hand, as do the other staff, but these more than the others.
Yeah.
So then the registered dental hygienist, the dental assistants would come in, and then I would also interview for the lab techs,
Yeah.
and the lab techs, after that, then I was interviewing for front office admin and then
Mhm.
clinical staff, which of course includes the RDH, RDA, and the techs.
Mhm.
So those are divided, and it takes quite a bit of time. When you asked about the body language and how the process goes about, so the best thing to do, and I always begin the interview with
Mhm.
let's have a chat.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have a chat.
Yeah. It's kind of disarming, right?
Yes,
To them, yeah.
right. And it puts them at their ease. It puts me at my ease.
Yeah.
I just want to get to know them.
Mhm.
Now, I've read all of their CVs. Okay, I've read their resumes,
Mhm.
and then anybody can write a very flowery, wonderful resume, and they can go ahead and place those. Use GPT for that
Oh,
nowadays,
yeah, yeah. And then
which
there's templates for that
and there's
now.
templates for it.
Yeah.
Maybe they've had a loved one created for them,
Yeah.
and they've just taken the information out and put it there. But I can see through that very, very easily, very
Yeah.
quickly,
Yeah.
um, pretty much a mile away.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's like when we talk to contractors, we'll have a doc say like, "Hey, I want to work with this contractor, and a lot of colleagues work with him, and he's real good, and this and that, or my cousin or something, whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, well, let me talk to him," and
Sure.
and it's just for their best interest. It's like, we'll go with whoever's the best fit for the doc. We don't have like, guys that we're like loyal to them. So we tell them like, "Hey, look, we're not loyal to contractor A, B, C, or whatever. No,
Mhm.
we're loyal to you. So let me just have a conversation with him to make sure he's qualified. And having, just conversations with them, we can tell, how much they know, how experienced they are. If they're like, just a car salesman,
Mm-hmm.
not saying anything bad about car salesmen, but we can tell
Mm-hmm.
if they have like a sales mentality or if they're really the right person. So I'm sure you, with the experience of talking to people, just about the different aspects of the having a conversation, like you said, with them, you can tell like how qualified they are, or if they're reaching, or if they're really not like answering a question.
Right, if they're skirting the issue.
Yeah.
So, another great thing is in the chat, which is seriously, it's just a chat.
Mhm.
I like to ask them about how their day is. And one of the most important questions that will give me a fountain of information is how did you get to be across the desk from where I sit
Mhm.
and in this interview?
Yeah.
So, see, I know their credentials,
Mhm.
I know everything I've read on their resume, but
Mhm.
how did you get to this point?
Yeah.
I want to know their story. It's
Mhm.
very important. And that's where listening is key.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm listening. I'm watching. Yes,
Mhm.
I'm looking at their body language. I'm seeing if there's a lot of some individuals have more tells than others.
Mhm.
So if anybody knows anything about poker, they know
Oh yeah.
how easy it is
Man, that's
to read tells.
yeah.
But yeah, so that comes into play. Sometimes they're just nervous, and that's
Mhm.
okay. And
Mhm.
I can weed that out as well.
Mhm.
And there's a process that I also follow that's teasing the information out. But remember, I have to be very careful because there are very, very stringent laws regarding the interviewing process.
Mhm.
There are no pictures that are allowed to be taken.
Oh yeah.
There's certain
Really?
questions that you must never ask.
Oh wow.
But it'll come out in the conversation. And why not? I'm not probing. I just want to get to know them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in that, it gives me a lot of things to work on.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important to do that. Listening skills are important, whereas maybe some individuals may say, well, I've never known BJ to be quiet.
Yeah.
But that's when I'm most quiet,
Yeah. When you're
is when
listening.
I'm listening, because it's very, very important. They're giving me valuable information.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll give you their tells if you just let them talk
Hmm.
enough, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's got to be that's got to be a process because you listen to people trying to sell themselves as to why they should be hired for this office and why they're the best fit and why they're worth $50 an hour and
Yes.
whatever it is, and you're having to like, oh my gosh, you know, you just graduated,
Mm-hmm.
you you've been out for a year and you've worked at you know 10 different companies or 10 different
Yes.
practices, and so but you have to talk everybody the same because you never know. Yeah, that's got to be a process.
It's a process, and there's a lot of great segues
Mm-hmm.
in the process of interviewing. So, uh, one of the ones that I really, really like to ask, and I genuinely like to know this:
Mm-hmm.
do you like to vacation and where?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And that's very important because they also want to tell their story of that aspect. And some will say, I don't vacation.
Oh, wow.
I don't take, when I take time off, I staycation.
Mm.
Okay, that's good. Some will say, I vacation, I use that time for family
Mm-hmm.
and I visit my in laws, my loved ones, my friends, whatever, 2 states over.
Mm-hmm.
And that always occurs during, they will let me know that occurs during um, Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
Easter, and they'll give me the holidays that
Mm-hmm.
they coincide that with.
Yeah.
Well, that's very important information because then that tells me, okay, that will work very well with my office.
Mm-hmm.
When my office is closed for a certain amount of time during Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be great. when it's closed for, say, in the South,
Hmm.
a lot, and other demographics of the
Yeah.
U.S. But there's Holy Week, so we're going to close on Friday and maybe Easter Monday.
Hmm.
So that's great. So that works out very well. And then you're going to have individuals that say, I like to take a cruise or
Hmm.
um, go out of the country for every year, and I usually like to take it during this time.
Yeah.
I have children that take time off, and I have it coincide with that. That gives me good information as well. That does not mean that I will not be hiring them because
Yeah.
their time does not coincide with the time I take off. It just gives me a heads up on, okay, great,
Hmm.
I'm fitting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard from this office manager. Her husband was the dentist, and she was the office manager. She ran the practice, and she was talking to me about, she had a new hire coming in, and she had just finished, and she was like writing up, what they had discussed, and I had gone in her office to tell her like, hey, I dropped, we moved some of the flooring around and stuff because we're getting some things prepped for them to come and cut the door into your office, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I said, I said, you okay? Because she kind of looked and she goes like, I just had this interview with this person, and I was a little disappointed because, you know, they told me that, was offering them the job, and she goes, okay, great. And I asked her like, let me know that, you know, when you could start, when you tell your employer, and so that way I can get it down here, so we can narrow that down when you're starting here. It's 2 weeks or three, whatever it is that you have to turn in with that particular office. And the girl that she was hiring, that she was excited about, had said, I could be here Monday, because this was like on a Thursday. And she says, I can be here Monday. Just tell them, I'm leaving, and I planned on taking off Friday anyway, so I got a 3-day weekend, and I'll be here on Monday. And she goes, I can't hire you. She goes, I'm so disappointed. I can't hire you because I can't hire you if you're not going to give your employer the proper amount of time to, to leave correctly. Give the 2 weeks or the 3 weeks, whatever it is. You're ineligible now because you could do that to us, and that could leave us in a bind. And that's not the right thing to do. And I said, oh, wow. She goes, yeah. She goes, I didn't hire. And I was like, man, that is old school that I haven't heard of in a long time.
Yes.
Because I remember back in the day at the family company, which we very well,
Yes.
we wouldn't do that either. We were like, no, you can't. And it's like, hey, we'll start, and that was just a practice that I hadn't heard of in a long time. And then I said, wow, I haven't heard of that in a long time. And she goes, yeah, we still follow that here. And her office is like very high end. The way that people dress, the way they work, the way it looks still, and it's they had an expansion, so we were helping them with the expansion, but it still looks great. Even the existing site, there's like you're not gonna be able to tell like they just opened up, and it's been some time. Um, but she had said like we can't, you're ineligible now. I can't hire you because that's too bad. I was really looking forward to having you here with us. And they order uniforms for them. They're like blazers, and or nice scrubs and slacks, and they wear shoes. They all dressed very high end, because it's kind of a high end office. They do higher end procedures there. And I said, really? And I said, well, I kind of got curious then, and I asked her, well, what are the other things you do? She goes, well, like I asked other questions like, have you looked us up on social media? And what you think of our social media presence? And if they say, yeah, I like the activities you do, I like the social engagements, I like what y'all do with you know for team building activities. um, she goes, now if they say, well, um, I didn't really look, I didn't have time, I don't really know, then they're like, you may not be a good employee for this company because you're not even looking to see where you're going to work. You're
Yes.
just, you know, calling us because we have a listing, but not doing any of your research or due diligence, which I'm like, well, yeah, that's duh. I mean, it's so much easier nowadays, to look to see.
It's a click away.
Yeah, like, hey, where is this place I might be working or going to? So I know there's a whole list of different things that y'all have that you ask, and you even coach dentists on when they're hiring, or things that, like, hey, you know, this is like a hard no when they do something like this, because
Mhm.
um that just, that could come back to them, like, like
Right.
hiring, poaching. What was the last conversation we were talking about?
Yes.
Poaching
Yes.
from their office that they were working at as associate to their new
Mm.
startup office. That's may not always be a good thing, because it could, it's gonna happen to them at some point. It probably
Yeah.
will, right down the line.
Yes. And when you speak to, um, when you refer to the individual that wanted to go ahead and separate
Mm-hmm.
without notice,
Mm-hmm.
that speaks to the lack of her integrity.
Yeah.
And we want to hire somebody that has so much integrity
Mm-hmm.
that I love to hear a potential new hire say, because part of my
Mm-hmm.
application and part of that I've already received, and I need to go over with you
Mm-hmm.
and your audience with the process that I
Mm-hmm.
follow that's really foolproof. But part of it is they need to be, uh, they need to give notice.
Yeah.
And where are you working? When would you be available to for
Mm-hmm.
new hire? And mm, more than half will say, well, after my 2 weeks' notice, and of course, after they speak to their significant other about the
Yeah. Yeah.
opportunity, then they go ahead and uh, place on the document that they would be available for hire, and they'll give me a date range.
Mm-hmm.
One of the very, very important questions that I have, which may to some not mean to be significant enough, but I do, is do you have any prior obligations once they have
Oh,
told
yeah.
me that they are eligible for hire and the state?
Yeah.
Well, I need to know if they have any prior obligations. Look, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
They've booked a trip and they've prepaid.
Mm-hmm.
They've already um, coordinated with their significant other or their friends or
Mm-hmm.
their loved ones. And so life happens. And
Yeah.
I need to know that. And that does not mean that they are not eligible for hire. In fact, I prefer that they'll give me all the information up front.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I know, okay, in 3 months they are going to be um, getting married. They're going on a trip. They are involved in a retreat. They are volunteering abroad
Mm-hmm.
for their services to in a foreign country,
Yeah.
which is very, admirable.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to know that so that I can plan around it. It
Yeah.
does not mean that they're not eligible. It just means, great, you do have a life. You're giving me a heads up.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that quite a few, about 30%, are very surprised that I would ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, wow, thanks for asking that. And you'll work around that. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I see what great benefit they would be for the company
Mm-hmm.
and what they would bring to the practice.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
I see it, and for the most part, I would say I'm a very good judge of character. I can
Yeah.
read people very easily,
Yeah.
but that comes from listening
Experience. Yeah.
and listening.
Skill
Yeah.
of listening.
Skill,
It is a
experience,
skill.
listening. Yeah.
So just so they you ask them, do you have any other things coming down the line? Hey, if this works out, and you come in your 2 weeks or whatever it may be, do you have what other down what other things do you have down the line? Do you does if they tell you that, like, I'm gonna, a vacation, a wedding, they're getting married, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody, vacation, wedding, um, pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
um, or funerals or whatever. I mean, nobody plans for those, right? I mean, but
Yeah,
if
but
they have, if they tell you, like, the three, right?
mm-hmm.
The three big ones, right? vacation, wedding, or they're giving birth or something.
Mhm.
They tell you in advance because they're going to know those things. But
Sure.
if they don't tell you, they say no, I don't have anything, I'm good, whatever, and then you hire them, and then you know if they have a probationary period of some sort, I don't know what the average is, but
90
90
days.
days. So if they have like a probationary period, say like 45 days in,
Mhm.
just say, and then they tell you, oh, I have a wedding in 2 weeks, right? Or I have a vacation in 2 weeks. I have a wedding in 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Or you're starting to see the signs of them,
Mhm.
showing like, And so, is there like is that cause for like termination or writing up, or I mean,
Right.
because how does it you're
Right.
in the throes of things. You just got this person, and then all of a sudden they spring this on you. They didn't disclose that even though you asked them.
Mhm.
I mean,
Right. And we've asked for prior commitments. We're not allowed by law, of course, to ask if they are expecting.
okay,
That's a big hard no.
that's a hard
But
no. Yeah,
yeah, it's a hard no.
yeah, yeah,
And there's other hard no's.
yeah.
But they certainly can uh, divulge that to me. If they have not, then the beauty of it is that I have a policy manual that dictates what to do in those situations.
Okay,
And they have signed the
all goes back to
document.
the manual.
Always goes back
All
to
it
the
goes back
manual,
to the
which
policy
is
manual.
wonderful, which makes, uh, even though some will say, oh gosh, conflict and HR, the beauty of it is that I've got all of the policies written down. They've
Mm-hmm.
signed them. They can say that they've skimmed over it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's okay. I can re-educate them on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I will go ahead and say, well, this in under 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the policy is. However, we do want to be reasonable,
Mm-hmm.
and if we are able, and they are very compliant and very much a part of the team,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's surprised that they're going to have a blessing
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's not, but
Yeah.
either way, I go ahead and just remind them of
Yeah.
what the policy is. And of course, it's always better to be kind. Now, that does not mean that you let them run over you,
Well,
because
yeah.
they can get a hold of that very quickly and read into that, and then
Yeah.
they start chatting with their colleagues and saying, "Look, just say this and
Oh,
just say that."
yeah.
And believe me, they do.
That's the thing. I
Believe me,
know.
they do.
That's it. Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Like, oh, I make this much, and you make that, and you're not
Yeah,
supposed to disclose that to each other, but they do it all the time.
yeah, they do.
So, um, so I mean, you wrote in policies
Mhm.
for dental offices, and all of them are specific to the practice,
Yes.
right? But for practice, right? And then you've written policies for DSOs
Hmm.
because you have it's not a practice, but it's got people that are answering the phones, doing insurance verification. You got a
Yes.
marketing department, IT department. Then you had a construction department. And I remember
Mhm.
specifically reading my policy book for mine when
Yes.
I came in because I had to read it too. We all had one, but I had one specific for myself because I was I had a different job.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's there, but mine is like out in the field and going to airports and then this and that, and then we're having these social things with some of these docs out, and you have to follow these rules and be professional because you're representing a company, right?
Absolutely.
And so I remember going through that like, oh wow, this is like well thought out because a lot of these scenarios could happen,
They
out on
do.
the road and stuff. And so you put all of those together, and with your team of attorneys that got to make it all like what? Oh, I know what that means. You like read it like what? Oh, I get it. Oh,
Yes.
so and I remember going through that. So yeah, I mean, you guys really need to reach out if you have any specific questions.
Yes.
We could talk stories about hiring, and I
Hmm.
think probably the next one let's talk about some of the checklists or things that you have for actually when you're interviewing or talking to people.
Yes.
If you have one of those, and we can go through that.
We
So
should.
stay tuned. We'll see you guys in the next one.